Have you ever watched a landlord lose everything because of one determined tenant? When I got out and started putting my life back together, I just wanted a roof over my head, a fresh start. So when a landlord finally agreed to rent me an apartment, I felt grateful. He seemed like he was giving me a chance. But that landlord, let's call him Ed, would turn out to be the most dishonest person I'd ever met. At first, everything was fine. The building wasn't fancy, but it was quiet. Then winter came. One morning, the heat stopped working across the entire place. I called, texted, and left messages for Ed, but he ignored everyone for days. When he finally answered, he said, "The law gives me a reasonable amount of time to fix it." 2 weeks passed. Still no heat. People started using their ovens to keep warm, huddled in their kitchens all night. Then Ed got his electric bill and decided to raise everyone's rent to cover it, which the city immediately blocked. Furious, he stopped paying the utility company altogether. The power got cut, leaving us freezing in the dark. That was when something in me snapped. I decided if he wasn't going to do his job, I'd do mine, studying every housing law I could find. I learned about tenant rights, building codes, and landlord obligations. It didn't take long to realize Ed was breaking almost all of them. Unpermitted wiring, faulty plumbing, unsafe conditions, everything. Then, one night, things got worse. Around 2 in the morning, the building's fire alarm started going off. Smoke filled the hallways, and everyone scrambled to escape. Thankfully, the fire department showed up quickly, and nobody was hurt. But later, I saw Ed hand an envelope of cash to a woman whose apartment had been where the fire started. A few weeks later, investigators confirmed the fire was intentionally set. That same tenant had moved in only days before. I looked at Ed and told him straight, "I know what you did, and I'm not stopping until you lose every building you own." From that moment, it became my personal mission. I started gathering every story I could from his tenants. He had stolen deposits, ignored maintenance requests, and skipped safety inspections for years. I needed evidence, and I knew just how to get it. I told Ed I was a computer technician and offered to fix his broken office computers in exchange for credit toward my rent. He agreed. While working on them, I quietly copied everything: his emails, financial records, and private documents. I even printed the most incriminating files from my own printer next door. What I found was enough to sink him. There were records of unpaid taxes, proof of illegal electrical work, and messages showing he'd cut corners on repairs to save money. I turned it all over to the city's code enforcement department. A week later, investigators arrived. That night, I found an eviction notice taped to my door. My roommate panicked, but I told him not to worry. I already knew the law. In court, I presented proof that Ed had violated the warranty of habitability, meaning he'd failed to provide safe living conditions. The judge dismissed the eviction and ordered him to repair the apartment immediately while I stayed there. But Ed didn't stop. The next month, another eviction notice showed up. Another court date. Another loss for him. By then, I was helping the other tenants learn their rights. Many began legally withholding rent, forcing him to lose money fast. Code enforcement kept fining him. The city had eyes on every one of his buildings. Then came his biggest mistake. It turned out he had wired multiple apartments to the same electrical circuits, including the common hallways and emergency lights. When he tried to cut off electricity to individual tenants, he also shut off power to the entire building. The utility company stepped in and locked the main controls, forcing him to hire professionals to fix everything. It would cost thousands, money he didn't have. Within months, his properties started getting condemned one by one. By law, he had to pay for tenant relocations, but he couldn't. He tried to sell some of his condemned buildings under the table, which only made things worse. The city caught him, and the legal cases piled up. But I wasn't finished. I sent all of his financial records and tax documents to the IRS and local authorities. It was the final push he couldn't recover from. Between the fines, lawsuits, and investigations, Ed lost everything. All his buildings were seized and later sold to responsible owners who actually repaired them. The tenants, including me, found safe, warm homes with landlords who cared. The nightmare was finally over, not because someone saved us, but because I refused to let Ed keep getting away with it.